All right, it's 8:30 Central Standard Time. It's every other Monday, and we are pleased to be here for yet another wonderful Dads and Ed episode. We are going to have an amazing guest this tonight. We're going to have a very important guest, as we found out over the weekend. We'll get into that with John Spencer here in about 10 or 15 minutes or so. But you're watching Dads and Ed, or you're listening. My name is Josh Allen. I have three wonderful kids. As I say that, I was sitting here tonight looking at my almost 7-year-old son, and I still wonder, who the hell let me have kids? Who thinks it's okay that I'm in charge of three little kids? And how in the heck? I mean, obviously I married up because my kids turned out pretty darn well in spite of their dad. Three wonderful kids, one amazing wife, tech integration, Council Bluffs, Lewis Central. Sorry, Devin, almost stole your district.
All right, it's okay.
Lewis Central, just outside of Council Bluffs. Super excited to be here. Devin, introduce yourself.
Yeah, and you're gonna get the traditional version there. My kids are home right now. Claire was talking to me yesterday, Josh, and she said. When she asked if we were having it tonight, and I said, yeah, and she's like, Josh is going to be so mad at me, or I'm going to be so mad at Josh, or something. It was something about the name, calling her Gracie last time. She hasn't forgotten that yet. So just at some point in time, she might come on and introduce you as or something like that. I'm not sure.
I'm going to order some ice cream at some point in our relationship.
I'm Devin Schoening. I'm a K-12 tech integrations. What is my title? Technology integration code. I don't know. I'm something.
I used your district, so you can use my title. Go ahead.
Yeah, I started to use your title. I don't know what my title is anymore. Instructional technology program lead, I think, is the official title. But I have two kids, 8 and 10. My wife, wonderful wife, who none of them are home right now. She picked up the kids so I could make it home from basketball practice. So. Yeah, I'm excited tonight too. This is gonna be fun.
Nice. And I'm Brent Catlett from the Kansas City metropolitan area in Independence, pulling up the south. I don't want to. We got to balance this thing out. So it has not snowed here. They threatened of it, and people ran to the grocery store like you wouldn't believe. But there's not a trace of snow on the ground. And I am married to an amazing woman, have 4 children and one on the way due in February, which is going to really change the household even more. And but I too, Josh, I sometimes look at my children and think, how on earth did I, there should be some sort of test on giving a guy like me a dad certification. So I'm not sure I would have passed, but I try. So I'm excited about tonight. Looking forward to visiting with John Spencer, and always enjoy seeing you guys too.
Nice.
I distinctly remember when my oldest was born, and they said, "Okay, you guys can go home," and my wife and I just sitting in the hospital room, going, "Really? Like nobody's coming with us? Like we get them back, and you pay us like $10-20 an hour, $10 an hour, right?" But
right. I think that's
all good.
No, nothing else. Yeah. They do go down and make sure that you strap them into the car correctly, though, right? They do that.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one piece of advice that you get. You're like, oh, here's how you do this. See you later. See you next time.
Yeah, exactly.
And for Brent, that's next time and next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Brent, at 5.
It's official after this, boys.
Do they give you like a VIP card after so many kids?
Yeah,
like a punch card
discounts for certain things, like dessert.
Next birth is free. Is that what happens?
Yeah, I wish. That would be great.
Oh, all right. Well, if you would want to get in touch with the show, Nate Balcom is already here. He knows how to get in touch with the show, as always. We would love to have you, and why wouldn't you want to join us at this point? You can tweet at us, at Dads and Ed. Use the hashtag Dads and Ed. We'll be checking that throughout the night. We are on Google+. You can sense a trend. It's plus Dads and Ed. If you miss part of the show or you think it's so great your friends should watch it, Go to dadsanded.podbean.com or subscribe in iTunes by searching Dads and Ed. You know, gentlemen, I didn't mention this before the show. We are approaching a momentous anniversary. I got a notification today from Podbean, who hosts all of our podcasts, that our 1 year is coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So, you know, it's we've lasted this long. I mean, nobody still watches, but we've lasted. We're still here.
Well, that's good. Well, so we're almost at a year. We started? I guess it was about last December, wasn't it? Beginning of December, end of November, something like that.
They, according to the email I got, and this is all I'm going off of because I haven't gone back to look. November 15th was when we set up the Podbean account, so it was around that time.
Awesome. Well, there you go.
Yeah. You know, Brent, you were joking about the lack of snow or the trace of snow. We did just get a trace of snow here in the blustery state of Nebraska, and my son was disappointed that we couldn't get the snowblower out and take that out. I'm like, no, but that's a little embarrassing at this point when it's a trace.
I saw your Instagram putting in work, the poor kid. So, you know.
Don't even start. He was begging to get out there and shovel. I'm not even kidding. Which I love because I'm a big fan of the winter months as well.
Yeah.
No, not me.
Really?
Is it spring yet?
Yeah, I gotta
wow, you're one of those people.
Is it spring yet?
And I was like, it was enjoyable.
I don't mind the snow. It's the cold I don't like. So,
my eyes did freeze walking across the parking lot today. I'll admit it.
I think I saw, I think it was John Spencer had something on maybe Facebook today or something saying it was a meme about the temperatures dropping below 70 in Phoenix today. Here come the heavy coats and the I could live with that. I'm tired of the cold.
I don't know if you noticed it. I did hear Brent mention Miami and quickly just went past it and I don't want to hear about him being in Miami. Although looking at our list, I think Miami is going to come up later in the evening. He will find another way to work that in. Yep. We've got a lot to talk about with John, so we are going to jump right to the Dad Moment of the Week before we bring John in. Okay, I got totally distracted. Thank you, Nate Balkin. So he just tweeted about the snowblower chat. They had an inch and a half of snow out in Grand Island, which for those of you not familiar with your Nebraska geography is about an hour and a half west, 2 hours west of here. And he had 5 neighbors out snowblowing. So, yeah, I'm not going down that road. Dad Moment of the Week. I am super excited about this Dad Moment of the Week. We started a new tradition around the house. We are now having pancake Saturdays. I told my wife, I let on that I could actually cook a little bit, not a lot. Let's not get crazy. But I can read a fraction. I can mix stuff together. So I spent a lot of Saturday, especially since the Nebraska game was pathetic. I spent a lot of Saturday looking up pancake recipes. I did not sign up for Pinterest. Don't worry. I have a new Evernote notebook with all of my pancake recipes in. We started off with s'mores pancakes, little graham cracker in the pancakes, little chocolate chip in the pancakes, and marshmallow syrup, which was phenomenal. Next time we're going to have a little bit more graham cracker in it, but it was good. So my son picked the first one. I'm going to let the middle child pick the next one. She has hinted at something strawberry. I did not save any pancakes that include strawberries. I saved a lot that include chocolate and pumpkin and stuff like that. I did find a double Oreo pancake where you have like chocolate pancakes with whipped cream in the middle. I'm pretty darn excited for that. So yeah, so we're working on a new tradition in the house, Pancake Saturday. We have some good friends that come down in the spring once a year and just to kind of hang out. We've got kids about the same age, and they do donut Saturdays. And I said, don't worry, I found donut pancakes online, so we'll have those when they come down. So I'm pretty excited about it. We'll see what we come up with next week, but just kind of something fun to start the weekend off with. So
that's awesome.
I love that. So Pancake Saturdays sounds like an awesome thing. We tried a couple of years ago. We did we would try and take a week out of them every month, or take every month and pick out something from another country. So you had to make something from a famous dish from another country. And that was kind of fun. Not that our kids ever ate it. But we would made like some Portuguese soup one night and made a couple other things. So I like the pancake Saturdays. I might have to steal that. My dad moment of the week. This last few days, my oldest daughter Grace has been sick, and she's just had I don't know what. I think we went to the doctor today, and he thinks it's a touch of pneumonia, a little bit of pneumonia in her left lung. But it's one of those things where you just hate seeing your kid sick. And so I was home from work today and just kind of hanging out with her, and it's one of those things where just fever is nonstop, and we can't get the fever down, and she's constantly on medicine, and we've been pretty lucky. We were talking when we were at the doctor today. She had been to the doctor's office about twice in the last 4 weeks or so, and I don't think we went once for the last 2 years. So it's kind of one of those things where it was nice for a while. Now I don't know what we're gonna do. So we had to go to the doctor today, and she's on more medicine, and it was nice having that year or so where we didn't have any sickness of any kind in our house. We were pretty lucky, I guess, but kind of dealing with that now, and I'm hoping it's over it, because otherwise she doesn't have school. We don't have school Friday. The kids don't, and then they're off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. So I gotta make her butt get back to school tomorrow.
The important thing.
That's right. So I played Mr. Dr. Dad today at home, but that was fun.
So I just want to chime in here. There's Twitter feed. The Windmere Superintendent Swenson just said he can't take the snowblower out until at least 6 inches. So I would beg to differ there, that I fired mine up on the hopes that there would be some snow to blow around, just because I think guys just like to fire up tools and machines and things of this nature.
That's right.
As well as I went and bought a Sawzall this weekend and tore down these beams in our new house we have down here that I just couldn't stand them, so I took them out, cut them out. It was quite a good time, and just enjoyed that. But my moment, I think I'm going to choose. I was sitting here thinking as you guys were sharing about yours. There's just so many when you have a house full of kids, and as you know, and so I think my boy Charlie, who's 3, his speech is way behind in the realm of what people think it should be, and we're concerned about it. And he's going to start getting services. Actually, he went today for his first little session. And the other day we were doing some stuff, and just out of the clear blue, I was doing something for him, and he said, "Thank you, Dad," just like clear as day. And his babble is just something you can't necessarily understand, and so it just struck me as even though we can't really communicate per se, sometimes it's a little difficult. I know he's getting things and he's learning even those manners, and that's one of those things that we really strive for at the house. And so to hear that come from him, literally the first time where it was crystal blue clear, his day, it just was a good moment. I thought, man, this is awesome, and I just can't wait till he starts getting services and start ramping up on his vocab and his pronunciations and things. So anyway, it was a cool moment, so I enjoyed it.
That's pretty cool.
Nice. All right. I meant to have Counting Crows Omaha queued up for when John joined us, because John and I have chatted multiple times about Counting Crows, and Omaha is just a great song because that's where I live. But our high dollar production staff didn't quite get that worked out. So I'll go ahead and just say, John, welcome. It's great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
That's awesome.
When we say high dollar production staff, we mean the 3 of us jotted down some questions that we've been thinking about for 2 weeks. But we try.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It makes it more conversational when you have nothing planned.
So I feel really embarrassed. I'm using a webcam that's supposed to click on, and it's not. So I feel like I'm in this weird side zone. There you go. It's like a Blair Witch Project moment. Sorry, guys. Here, wait. I've got an idea. I'm sorry.
That's a good question. Higher budget or production, Blair Witch or Dad's and Ed?
I think Blair Witch might. No, I think maybe you guys beat out Blair Witch. Sorry, guys.
It was not. This is not the worst technical difficulty we've ever had, nor will it probably be the worst one we have tonight. So no worries.
That's awesome.
We still heard you the whole time, which generally will happen to someone throughout the show.
Yeah, there we go.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
John, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm a teacher. I'm a dad, obviously. That's probably why I would be
Two
here.
qualifications for being on the show, yes.
Yeah. So I've been a dad for 9 years, teacher for 10, or maybe, yeah, something like that, a little over 10. And I teach middle school, 7th and 8th grade, social studies, and I'm sorry, I said social studies. I used to teach social studies. Photojournalism and computer. Sorry, guys.
That's
like
all right.
The worst guest ever.
Well, I will say
all we asked him was about himself, and he screwed that one up.
Usually
he hasn't
they
even been drinking.
Well, we won't hold you to that. We have had beer on the show before. But we actually heard from our guest last week that you're a big Seahawks fan. You want to tell us about that?
No, please. Oh, I hate the Seahawks. Oh, my God. Oh. No, I'm a big Bay Area sports fan, so the fact that the Giants won the World Series was huge. The fact that the 49ers offense looks so sluggish. I mean, 16 points and you have 5 interceptions and the best you can show for it is 16 points. That was awful as a Niners fan. It was bad. The downside of social media is that you tweet out your frustration about something like that, and then all of a sudden you get this barrage of New York Giants fans who are like, well, how do you think it feels to throw 5 interceptions? You're like, okay, well, that's true. At least we won.
That whole sports thing, John, we were going to talk a little bit about that. We talked last time we had the show. I gave Brent a hard time about the Giants beating the Royals in the World Series, but it was kind of fun. And I was telling somebody else about this the other day that it's watching events is so much different now with people online, whether it's kind of quick quips back and forth or looking forward to a game kind of virtually together. I know we went back and forth quite a bit during the World Series and watching games. And you want to talk a little bit about how that's kind of changed the way maybe we watch events. That social media aspect. I think it's a pretty cool change.
Well, I think it's kind of an interesting thing. Like what you had was I'm going to get kind of geeky here, but what you had with the beginning of cable TV was the splintering off of the common experience of viewing things together. I mean, there would never be a last moment of MASH again. There would never be a last moment of, there was not the closest thing we have culturally still is the Super Bowl, and that's like a national holiday. It's perfect because nobody has to have the day off, and then with all of the explosion of cable TV and then the beginning of DVR, you just lost that kind of experience. There's that shared experience, the water cooler moments. Mm-hmm. But now I feel like what you have is this like rebirth of that. So now with social media, I'm watching it with my kids, I'm cheering them on, we're doing chants in the living room, and then I'm on Twitter tweeting about it, and I have a sports Voxer group. If any of you guys are on Voxer and you ever want to join it, we only talk about sports. We actually never even talk about teaching. That's the only rule. And it was this weird experience to be engaged with this virtual community in your living room while you're also watching it. And it feels like it brought back that shared cultural experience. And I think that might be what other people who are like into the Grammys or Emmys or any of those awards probably experience too.
And I would agree. And it's just like one of the things I know here, being in Iowa, I don't have a lot of Giants fans around me.
No, you probably don't.
I don't have a lot of those people around. So even if I wanted to go hang out and watch the game with some folks, some friends who who would want to root on the Giants. It wasn't happening. So, I know the final game, I was sitting in a Buffalo Wild Wings with, a bunch of Royals fans, and it was nice to have this like camaraderie of a few guys online who I could kind of secretly, root with them online where I couldn't do it out loud with, with all these Royals fans around. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, that was kind of my experience too. I mean, everybody is a Diamondbacks fan around here, and so there's no Giants fan to watch. So it was kind of different.
Devin, I never asked you, or John. John, where are you located?
All right, so I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm originally from California. So there's where.
And Devin, how did you ever become a Giants fan?
I want
to point this out because of social media. I've heard this story like 3 or 4 times.
I think I've explained it to Kyle and Sean and all these Craig. I was actually born in Southern California, and I was a Giants fan from the time I was a kid. I only lived there for a year or two when I was young, but I was a Giants fan ever since I remember watching baseball. And I think I remember going to when I was probably 7 or 8, going to Dodger Stadium and watching the Giants and the Dodgers, and it was the Will Clark years of the Giants, and I was a huge Will Clark fan as a kid, and that just always kind of carried over for me. So that's my connection.
Cool. Very good. I'll accept that.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, John, I wanted to ask you, I was looking through some of your stuff today. I told the guys I was really trying to do well by Dads and Ed today, and I didn't do as well as I wanted. But I did get a chance to check through some of your blog posts, and I was looking at the one about the disconnected educator month that you kind of have for yourself, and that really struck me because it's been something that I've talked about on the show here previously, the last couple episodes, about disconnecting from all the connectednesses we're kind of talking about. And don't get me wrong, I love it, and in your post you wrote about that you're just going to be gone away. But I'd love for you to elaborate or share a little bit about that post and your thought process.
Well, I think it's a little bit of, I've done a bad job because I've posted some blog posts this month, and I'm doing this, and I'll be tweeting a little bit at some events a couple times. But for me, it's a combination of 2 things. The first being just kind of a digital detox, which I think is necessary as much as I like digital stuff. And then the second is just getting outside of that ed tech, edu echo chamber, because that's really, to me, a challenge of I'm kind of tired of some conversations. Feel like I've had the homework conversation, or there's just conversations that I've had enough that it's kind of like watching, a Seinfeld episode on the 9th time. Like, it's still funny, it's still good, but you're like, I know this conversation, like, it's not going to change. So I think it's a little bit of like pulling away from those things and reading books that are not about education. So really, it's like not just staying outside of the connected world. It's really not doing anything education related that I don't have to outside of school.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? It's kind of 2 different areas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I fully respect that. I think that, I don't know, like, I was excited to get a chance to meet you. All the folks we've had on the show, it's always interesting because, I have this perception of who you are on Twitter and the things I've read and the conversations I see you in. It's so easy to kind of lurk and watch and not always engage. I know Devin's a lot better at that than I am, or you do an amazing job of posting things out there and sharing opinions. And I don't know why, and to a degree, I have opinions, of course, but I've hesitated to get into things because of administration in my districts or whatever that hold me back to a degree. So anyway, and again, I've just been kind of working on that whole being present with my family and being present with my kids and the battle and the struggle with that too. So
yeah, I think that's kind of, my take home is always, it reinforces. I'll have this rule about no social media until the kids are in bed, and then I slide outside of that rule that I have for myself. So this time actually kind of reinforces that a little bit, you know, like, and the kids are in bed right now, but you know, like tonight they wanted to make s'mores and we couldn't do that because they'll smell like smoke and their allergies will be bad, and it's a school night, you know, and it's tons of sugar. So, you know, we made this fake s'more making like we cut up sticks in our living room, and you know, my oldest son is doing weird origami things to hold the fire, and then my daughter's just crumpling up white paper and calling it a marshmallow, you know. And it was perfect, but it was, you know, like that's what I miss if I'm not careful, you know, because those things are not, there's no outward validation for those moments outside of just your kids.
Well, we've talked about that a lot, John, on this show, you know, with anybody who's been on, and even just with us. There is this real balance, and it's hard to figure out when it's appropriate, or when you just want to kind of get away from everything and be present with kids. And when I have these things and I'm thinking about whether it's for a blog post or whether it's for a chat I want to be part of, or whether it's, you know, creating something, that being able to kind of step away from those things and make sure we're doing all the things with our family, or, you know, even kind of stepping away from our family at times to go to things like at camps or whatever it is, you know, that balance of being a professional and being as good as we can be at what we do, and then also being the very best dads that we can be.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of an interesting, like, cultural aspect in the fact that, you know, women have been having this conversation for a long time about work-life balance. Mm-hmm. And women are shamed a lot for getting the balance wrong. But men have this weird thing where we don't talk about it enough, which is a downside. Mm-hmm. But then we also have this crazy thing where if we pursue that balance, we're validated a lot more. You know, like if I'm doing the dishes and cooking dinner and hanging out with my kids, I'm not just a normal dad. I'm somehow like an awesome dad. You know, but if the same thing happens where my wife works and does those same things, then it's just that's what's expected of a woman. You know, there's a real weird like social element that goes on that makes that work-life balance different for a guy. But then it's also the dark side of that is I also feel like sometimes when you pull away and you're like, no, I can't do that. Why? Because I want to go to my kid's baseball game or something. Like, there's less of that permission.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you mentioned that because you know, if you caught the beginning of the show, we started Pancake Saturdays last Saturday.
Absolutely.
Which
French toast Saturdays.
See, so the funny thing is that afternoon, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm gonna make a blog about this. Like, we're gonna blog it every week. But then I got to thinking, kind of like what you just said, I'm gonna, you know, my wife makes lunch and supper for us every night, and she doesn't have a blog about what she's doing. But the one meal a week, I actually put forth some effort and create. It's gonna have its own website and all this stuff. And I got to thinking, no, you know, kind of like you said, just enjoy it, have fun with it. You know, I did tweet out the recipe or whatever, but yeah, I laughed at myself, and I do that. You know, every now and then, like if my wife's gone, you know, I stay home and watch the kids, you know, during the day, and she watches our nephews, and she's like, oh, you know, how'd it go, like the first time? And I'm like, I planned for 2 weeks for this one day. I can pull that off. I can't do every day, but give me 2 weeks to prepare. I'll hide toys and bring them out like it's Christmas, you know, that day.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a great point. Hey, you know, John, typically, you know, when guests are on Dads and Ed, it's like the highlight of their week. It's really like the biggest thing they have going on.
Yes, it is. I noticed that. It's very important. Right?
Yeah, but it seems that you're kind of one-upping us this week by going to the White House. So you want to care to share about that? Nice. Yes. I heard him working on that earlier.
You know, I was a little bit surprised to, you know, be asked because I don't know if you guys know Zach Chase, but he contacted me a while back and, you know, asked me just what kind of stuff we were doing. And so I shared a global collaborative project that the kids had done, and where they were like, looking at community issues and partnering with kids in other cities and comparing and contrasting the issues, and developing solutions together. And so like that's kind of it. Like we're not doing like amazing code stuff, because when I taught code and had this dream of kids making their own video games, it fell flat. Like I told him all the things that failed, but he ended up saying, you know what, that one thing, that was good. We'd like to have you do kind of an Ignite session type thing in Washington, D.C. And then I didn't find out till about a week ago that it was at the White House. I was like, oh, that's crazy. So it's still a little bit weird and surreal. And I think I'm going to be the only person in an Ignite session that illustrates each of my own slides. So they're all just drawings of mine as I go.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when is that exactly? I know I saw it, but when are you going?
It's gonna be Wednesday morning.
Okay.
I'm gonna fly out tomorrow, early, which is crazy. So my flight leaves at 6 tomorrow morning. So it'll be fun.
Wow, what Dad's and Ed, flying to D.C., being at the White House. That's a full week, man.
It is a full week. What are you drinking right there, by the way?
Just water.
Okay.
My mouth gets ridiculously dry if I talk too much.
Mine does too. I drink an insane amount of water. Like, you know how they're like, you're supposed to drink 6 glasses of water. I can't believe I dropped Dad's and Ed to the level of talking that much water. I'm just going to stop it right there. Let's continue.
I need that. Well,
horrible.
I always have something to drink. Usually pop, unfortunately. But yeah, I always have a drink around somewhere. Coffee till 10 a.m. and then pop the rest of the day.
See, I do coffee until the afternoon. And I probably drink way too much coffee than what's healthy.
You got to make up for all those days you didn't drink coffee.
Yeah, well, the weirdest thing is everybody, I think it's because I have 4 kids. A lot of people assume I'm LDS, and so they always make this assumption. And they'll see me holding coffee or talking about craft beer, and I'm like, you do know that I'm talking about beer right now as I'm holding a coffee. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, I have this really weird, so the thing, I don't drink coffee, but I probably drink way more pop than I should, but it's one of those things where I kind of figure if I drink enough water that it offsets it, even though it doesn't. I know that's completely illogical, but if I have at least a few glasses of water between every pop that I drink, then I'm good. But I know that's not right, but hey, that's okay. And, makes me feel better about it.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember? If you remember back, since this show has like been off the rails since like 8:32 or something like that. Remember that Jack Black bit? It was on the CD that he made where he's at the McDonald's drive-thru or whatever, and he orders like a double quarter pounder and large fries and large shake and a Diet Coke because I'm trying to watch my weight. That's pretty much how my life is. I drink non-regular pop, and that makes it okay.
Yeah.
John, the last thing about the White House is that, I don't know, is the president going to be there? The president's going to be in attendance for this thing?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I commented to Tom Murray, he had a post or something on Instagram, and it's up to you guys now to make sure that we can get Barack Obama on Dads and Ed.
Oh my gosh. I will do that. I'll tell you what. If I meet the president, I'll say, hey, you're a dad. You need to be on Dads and Ed.
You got kids that are in school, yeah. So it's on you and Tom Murray to make sure that the president is a guest on the show at some point in time.
So I'll tell you something.
Awesome.
When I first saw it, the hashtag, one of your first episodes, I honestly thought it said Dad sign D, and I was like, it must be for dads who are math teachers. And I was like, they're not all math teachers. What is there some code like?
I never realized that.
Yeah, wait, the more you know. There you go.
Huh. We didn't have to battle them for the hashtag, so just so you know, there is not a dad's math teachers group that we had to fight for that.
Well, now there will be.
There will be. I know. Thanks for bringing it up. Good work.
Good thing I didn't mention our email address earlier in the evening. I will not have to be checking that.
I will say, like, we one time when Twitter was new to me, and it was, I don't know, 2008, 2009 or something. I tried using it with the classroom, and I tried using it with students, and we were having this this ridiculous thing where I was teaching integers by having integer wars with a group of kids who weren't getting it, and we did math wars, and apparently there was a hashtag that was that was meth wars, and somebody put something about like drugs ruining communities, hashtag math wars, and we were like, wait a second, this has nothing to do with this. Who is this stranger? And we kind of figured out, oh, it's one letter away. We've got to really watch out for that.
Obviously, he was very into the meth part of it, so much so that he can't spell the word.
Yeah, apparently. Well, it was like this. I don't know. The hashtag was about like a war on meth. Like it was people who were like, take back your community.
Oh, I see.
Justice. and we're talking about negative and positive integers. So it was a disaster. One of those. You discover a new tool and you're like, I'm gonna use it for this, and then afterwards you're like, that was a really bad use of Twitter. Like that just didn't need to be live tweeted at all.
Oh, so other stuff that's new with you. You have a new website out that you are helping out with creating, called Write About.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about where that idea came from.
So it was kind of a cool conversation where I had thought about a social blogging platform that I wanted to use that had the biggest things where I wanted to have custom user groups so kids could publish to a specific group, have discussions in groups, and really kind of go topical interest based, kind of the way we do with hashtags, but with a little more control, and then I wanted to have private commenting where teachers could leave private feedback. So that was the second component I wanted. And then the third one I wanted was that I wanted it to be, truly easy to use, so that you could access everything from one tab. There's no dashboard you go to. There's no, just make it as easy to use as possible. And then I had also been developing a website with all my different writing prompts. So I had a conversation with this guy, Brad Wilson. He does the Write About This app, and it's writing prompt stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was doing my writing prompts, and we started talking, and I said, hey, I've got this idea for a blogging platform. And he was, like, well, why does it have to be blogging? Why can't it just be a new publishing platform where it's like a blog, but you don't call it blogging, it's not competing with blogs, it's just a different way of doing writing. And then over the course of the conversation, we thought, wait a second, we both have these writing ideas. And we deliberately chose the term ideas rather than prompts because we really don't want it to be teacher-directed. We want kids to discover it. So we integrated the writing ideas into it and developed a system where teachers could make their own ideas. They could put them into galleries. Students could put them into galleries, have the user groups, all those different components. And it's been really fun. We've worked on developing it together. We worked with this guy who's also an entrepreneur, developer guy. So there's three of us. This other guy, Bob. And so the three of us have been working on it. We kind of started early this last summer, and now it's kind of launching in beta mode right now.
Well, it's phenomenal, and I've been poking around on it, and I did tweet out the link to the Twitter account, which is my Write About, and the website from Dads and Ed. So that's awesome. Great work.
Thank you. It was really, really fun to make and dream up together, and it's a bizarre thing to, like, we talk about collaboration with your PLN or whatever, but it is a little bit odd to be like, we're doing this thing in different cities. Like, it's a little bit surreal to be like that.
Yeah. I want to hit on another, a little bit older, I believe last year collaboration. I believe between you and your wife, if I'm correct. Wendell, the world's worst wizard. Tell us a little bit about. Is this your first fiction book?
It's not, but so a long time ago, I wrote this horrible book that was called Drawn into Danger, and it was like a superhero memoir book, and it had no sustaining plot. It just was not good, and I didn't know how to write a story, and so I ended up actually writing a second fiction book that had a solid story, but it was just a horrible, dark book. And it was a zombie book, but it was told from the opposite side. So it was the zombie apocalypse, where the zombies are this misunderstood culture that end up getting wiped out because they've been vilified by society for a long time. And that was like way dark and not ideal for, like, not something I would ever give my kids, not something I would really even publish. And then I've always told bedtime stories, but I've never wanted to like turn those into books or anything. So I began telling a story about a wizard, and my middle son said, no. What if he didn't have magical powers? And I was like, well, he wouldn't be a wizard. And he said, no, he's still a wizard. He just doesn't have magical powers. So that began this concept of, well, what would he be into? And I thought probably robots, and making stuff. So it's a wizard who doesn't have magic, who makes robots, and he goes on an adventure. And pretty early on, my wife and I started collaborating together and coming up with things. And it's funny when people see it, they'll kind of assume that like I wrote the action part because I'm a dude, but really she wrote a lot of the parts that have action, the best suspense. She's really, really good at that part. I'm pretty much in there for the puns and stuff that you see in the book. There's way too many of them. We were completely giddy one night after picking apples in an orchard that was supposed to be an hour away, but it was 3 hours away, and that's when we came up with all the ideas of places. So I don't know if you guys have read it, but there's really goofy, place names in the book, and so that's kind of the journey of it. We self-published it. We didn't think that it would sell at all. I mean, we weren't really pushing hard at the beginning. I almost didn't illustrate it because I just was self-conscious about my drawings, and so that was another moment where the kids kind of spoke up and they wanted it in their copy, and I thought, well, okay, then let's do that. So we didn't think about market, we didn't think about audience. It was just something for the kids that we wanted to give them.
Well, with that idea of putting your drawings out there, I was curious. We push so much now for publishing and for kids to write for an authentic audience and do all these things, and I'm curious what your thoughts on that are now. I know that you've had a number, on your blog, number of posts. There was one in September that you wrote about dress code violations and how that turns into student shaming, and got all kinds of comments on there, if I remember correctly. That was kind of disturbing. I remember
it was really disturbing. Some really misogynistic kind of stuff. It was pretty awful.
Right. So, I mean, I guess my question with that is, like, how do we want to continue, obviously, to promote to this idea that we can put our ideas out there, whether they're words or whether they're pictures, but there's always that chance that something that we share pushes a button with people and gets us these kind of negative type of feedback. And I guess, how do we balance that idea when we're really, I think, pushing in lots of places, schools, to have our kids publish?
Yeah, I think that's a tough. I think like one thing that we have to do is we have to change the conversation so that we're honest about the fact that those places aren't always safe and they're not always neutral. We're fighting against irrational fear sometimes, and we overstate the opposite side. That sometimes these spaces aren't good, and sometimes there's people hide behind anonymity and stuff like that, and so that's been a tough thing, like in creating Write About. We're essentially saying publish, we have an authentic audience, connect with others, but there's this opposite side of me that feels like a part of how you become a better writer is you do things privately. You have a journal and a notebook, and there's a good side to solitude, and those things matter.
Hey, John, I'm curious. One more question.
That's fine.
I know you have a ton of followers. Like, when I hear Devin ask about that sort of stuff, like a guy like me, if I write a blog post, hardly anybody reads it, hardly anybody comments. Do you, like, I guess what I'm trying to kind of get in your head in a sense of, I mean, you're such a bright cat and you're doing amazing things, you're writing, you're doing all this stuff. Like, do you leverage that on some level, like in your mind, like in the sense of putting stuff out there to get feedback?
I don't know. Like I mean, it's really weird. I don't feel like I have a lot of followers and stuff. It's a weird self-perception thing where you kind of compare yourself to, like it's easy to be at Twitter and say, okay, 14,000 followers. Well, there's these people with 65, so I'm just not there. So that kind of happens. Where I guess I don't have that perception of audience. Like it's and so I'm not sure if I'm even answering the question.
No, I appreciate. I mean, I guess one thing, and I've talked to Josh and Devin, know me fairly well, but I find it fascinating some of the folks that have a lot of followers and the way that they then kind of interact or use that, or I hate to say this, it's kind of not politically correct, but kind of think they're bigger than they are based on that. I don't get that sense from you at all. When you're saying out, I'm complimenting you.
Oh, thank you.
But I think that it's just interesting to me. I don't know, like I if I had like that much leverage, like what I could potentially do with it, or just if you use that to your advantage, in a sense of making things better, or your classroom, or just what you're doing in general.
I think that I mean, one of the thoughts that I've had about that topic is, I mean, you've got the first idea of kind of branding, and do you develop a brand, and do you have talking points, and and I think it's fine that some people do that, but I've never been into the brand or the John Spencer brand, or like that's just not my style. I regret the fact that I have a Twitter handle that's Ed Rethink, because I feel like Ed Rethink's become a brand. And there's a logo. I kind of regret having all of that. I would love for it to just be, this is John Spencer. This is my, my first blog name was Musings from a Not-So-Master Teacher, which is a horrible name. And then it became Spencer's Scratchpad, which I think was kind of a better idea, a better name. So, I think branding plays a role in some of that. And then my second thought is on leveraging. People can use that, what they have, for opportunities or for influence. And I think that there's some people I know who have gotten, edufamous or whatever, and they're using it to do amazing things in their building. They're using it to get really cool things in their classroom and in their students' hands, and they're using all of those things to help their students. And then I think there's some people that go after opportunities, and they want gigs. And that's okay if that's what they want. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with opportunity. My fault is that I don't tend to see either the opportunity or the influence. I just I keep as low a profile as possible at school. There's better teachers in my building. I know that. And so I really try to keep those worlds separate, even though they can't be separate. But I don't own the influence, because it's confusing and it's messy, and for all the talk about the downside of compartmentalizing. Like I like having separate worlds a little bit. It was. I'll give an example. One of the World's Worst Wizard. The librarian looked to see books that are trending, and there was a phase where that book was trending in fantasy on Amazon, and so she picked it up and bought it for the library because she, that's how she is, and she was awesome. And then there was this terror that I had of like the kids know that I wrote something. It wasn't this excitement. It was like, holy crap, they know that I wrote this book, and if it sucks, they know that it sucks. It was really. So I think I don't own the influence when I have those chances for influence. I really don't do a good job at that. I feel like that makes it sound like a downer. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I appreciate it. I just appreciate
Wow, that was awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
Pull that up.
Yeah, Brent's usually our sound effect guy.
That's awesome. I love the fact that you guys have sound effects. It's really cool. It kind of makes it like a morning show. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, John, we really do appreciate you being here. Devin, mute yourself. You're noisy.
I kind of like that loop effect. I thought that was like, it makes everything you say when it echoes sound that much more monumental and important.
We tried to bring in like the 80s guitar sound effects, the little wah-wah bar or whatever it's called. So we don't bring that in for every guest, John, just the special ones. So we really appreciate you being here. It's been a blast. Can you stick around for a few more minutes, or have you packed yet?
Oh, no, I can stick around for a few more minutes. Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Well, the end of the show is typically where we share some of the new learning that we have. I have app or website of the week. I already tweeted out from Dads and Ed right about. So be sure to check that one out too. Also want to I just sent out from the Dads and Ed account Explain Everything. Explain Everything is a really powerful app that can integrate a lot of different things, and their big news is last week they introduced an iPhone version of Explain Everything. So the cool thing is, I know some apps don't do this, but they just added it on as a universal app. Not a lot of times, you'll see some apps that will have an iPhone version and an iPad version and charge you twice, but anyone who has had Explain Everything can just download it to their iPhone and use that as well. So it's a great app, extremely popular. As my district has gone down the route of the Android tablets, because we're a Google Apps school and everything works pretty well when everything's together. That's one that we're looking at and has made the jump to the Android side. So I will throw out Explain Everything. John, John, other than your own, and you can't say write about this or tell about this, which if we go back, I'm pretty sure I've covered that one too. So distance yourself from anything you've had created or have business partners that have created. What app or website do you enjoy the most?
Are you thinking like me personally or with students?
Either one. Take your pick.
I feel bad saying this because it's in the same domain kind of as right about. But I absolutely love Medium. I just love it as a platform. It's the kind of thing that I couldn't have kids working on at school. So it's not ideal. But I just, oh my gosh, slick. Visually appealing. I love the way they do collections. I love the community that's built around it. I love how easy it is to use and how the focus is on, writing more than, multimedia. I just think and you can add multimedia, but it really feels like the conversation is back. I love the inline comments so that you can leave a comment inline. I think that's really cool. I like that. Do any of you guys use Medium?
Well, it's funny you bring that up. I actually have a Medium account that I have not used, and I have a blog post in my head that I've been meaning to write, and I've been trying to figure out where to put that blog post because I have a couple, but maybe I will jump into Medium, and that can be the first one there because it's not really the blog post is not necessarily tech related; it's social media related, but maybe
Well,
that'll be.
that's another piece that I kind of like. Like your blog becomes all about education, right? I mean, that's what you write about. And then what's fun with Medium is you can kind of write about something totally off the wall. Like I did a parody kind of post that was messing around. And it was Jesus on.
Yes. I was crying. That was phenomenal.
But I was like, that would offend some people. For two reasons. One being, people offended because they think I'm making fun of Jesus, which I'm not, and then some people that would think I'm, showing my faith too much online, and I've been accused of violating the establishment clause, and it just gets so whatever. And so, like, you post it on Medium, and it's away from your blog, but it's,
the water to wine trick was pretty good, but.
But
if you haven't seen
like a whiskey,
check it out. It was hilarious. As a Catholic, I thought it was very funny. As a Methodist who's become Catholic, I thought it was very funny. Brent, you're up next. I have a feeling the words Miami Device are going to come out of your mouth.
Hey, how did you know? I don't throw that back. Boy. Yeah, I had an opportunity to go to Miami Device a couple weekends back. Phenomenal learning event put on by Felix Giacomino and the crew down there at St. Episcopal School. And so my Twitter followers are going to go out to two guys, one of which I followed before going there, Techie Turner, otherwise known as Rodney Turner in real life.
He's in my neighborhood, literally in my neighborhood, and I just
that's right. He is
which is a horrible thing for a guest to do, but we are literally 10 minutes away from each other.
Okay, awesome, yeah, and it was like one of those things we go to Miami, get to meet each other. Finally, I've been following him on Twitter. Just an awesome guy. Really enjoyed. Had some great dad talks with him too, as well, and some of the stuff going on with him personally. So. Just really enjoyed getting to know Rodney. And another fella that I did not know was Mr. Matera, Matera. I just tweeted off to #DadsNet. His account is Mr. Matera. And was really impressed with him as well. He comes from Wisconsin and is a teacher up there. And he does quite a bit with gamification stuff. And just really enjoyed his perspective on that because I think, at least in my humble opinion, that gamification kind of gets a bad rap sometimes with some folks, and I thought he was doing a really nice job of explaining it. And he had a session I intended to go to and then kind of missed it because I had the time wrong, but had the opportunity, of course, just to talk to him about it, not in session and in the midst of evening gatherings and stuff. So I really enjoyed getting to know him as well. So those are my two Twitter follows for. What are we on, episode 21 or 2 today, Josh?
22. We turned 21 last week.
Which is, by the way, whose number? Who was
Richard Sherman's?
No, not Richard Sherman.
I have no idea.
Will Clark.
Oh, well, we muted Devin, so that's why he couldn't.
Put that out.
Devin would have known if we wouldn't have muted him. All right, Devin, you can unmute yourself and let's hear about your date night.
All right, I'm back. I get to join the show again. Fun, thank you. So my date night for tonight is, I'm making a recommendation. A lot of times we make recommendations for places, and they're like local places, and so anybody who might be listening to the show, or might be a guest has no idea. I mean, they couldn't go to these places if they wanted to. So I'm going to give a place, but I'm also going to promote the idea of going somewhere local and utilizing tools that we have at our disposal, like Twitter. So anytime you go to a new city, if you don't know somewhere to go for, if you're out with your wife or your husband or someone else, you can kind of tweet that out and go somewhere local. I'm a big fan of eating at local places, and so tonight there's a place in Council Bluffs, and I don't think we've done this on the show before, but Dixie Quicks, which is a kind of a local place here in Council Bluffs. that moved over from Omaha a couple of years ago. But just great local place, great ambiance, great food. And so in town here, if you happen to be in Omaha or Council Bluffs or in the area, Dixie Quicks. But as a wider reach, I would say anytime you can find that good hole-in-the-wall local place in whatever community you might be in, that go there instead of the chain place, because those local places have a lot of character and tend to have some really great food too. So I'm all for local places tonight. My local place in town is Dixie Quicks.
John, what's your favorite spot to take for you and the wife to ditch the kids and go out to?
Oh gosh, we actually really like. It's funny, as much as I love sports, we love local theater. Like, we love going to see a musical. There's a local small theater nearby that we love going to. So a lot of times that's a date night. We really like a chain restaurant, which is funny, Devin. We absolutely love In-N-Out. So that's like our go-to place. But In-N-Out's just seriously amazing hamburger, just phenomenal stuff. But there's a couple. There is, if you're ever in Phoenix, I'm gonna say this: our go-to Mexican restaurant, which there's amazing Mexican food all over the place, but absolutely love Los Taquitos in Phoenix. Great place, and Mi Patio is also really good. So if you're ever there here in Phoenix, hit me up. We will have Mexican food, and I will show you how it's done.
Yes. All right. Well, gentlemen, we're at the end of another wonderful hour. John, again, much thanks. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the stuff that you're working on. And best of luck this week at the White House.
Thank you. Totally a nervous wreck about it, by the way. I just want to point that out.
All right. Well, we are back in 2 weeks. We need to follow up with our guests to make sure they will be here. So since we don't have that for you, we will tease that in a month, which would be the December 15th, we will have another international guest. We are, again, reaching outside the borders of the United States because we are a worldwide program here on Dads and Eds. So,
is it a Canadian? I just keep blowing this show up. I keep interrupting you guys.
It is a Canadian.
Okay.
It will not be the first Canadian we've had on.
All right. Just making sure you're going very international with a Canadian. Awesome.
Canadian is very international?
Yeah.
Like,
why not?
I would think that's like the least international. They speak the same language.
It's America on the metric system. Like,
oh,
it's so funny.
All right.
Yeah, I won't even get to do it. So yeah, I'll let your show end.
All right, we will see everyone in a couple weeks. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Night, everybody.